Welcome to another segment of the BYU Management Society's Learn from Professionals initiative. Our goal is to provide guidance to young adults that are either exploring or are ready to jumpstart a career. Today, we have the opportunity to learn from Chad Fieber, who is a seasoned professional in the residential construction industry. Chad and his wife Candace are the owners of Palmer Ridge Construction, a custom home building company in Monument, Colorado. Chad was born and raised in Wyoming. He attended BYU and earned a Bachelor of Science degree in construction management. In 2003, he married Candace Pace. They now have 4 kids, 2 girls and 2 boys. Chad was recruited out of college by Pulte Homes for an internship in the summer of 2005 and subsequently offered a full-time position in Colorado Springs upon his graduation from BYU. He worked as a superintendent for Pulte Homes for 3 years. He studied for and obtained his own contractor license in 2006. From 2008 to 2013, he was the operations manager for a commercial framing company in Franktown, Colorado. And in 2014, Chad and Candace incorporated Palmer Ridge Construction. So Chad is also an avid outdoorsman and hunter. So welcome, Chad.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate your willingness to share your expert advice with our viewers. So Chad, can you tell us what made you decide to pursue a career as a residential builder?
Growing up as a kid, I always did construction projects with my dad. He worked in the oil field, but then on his days off, did some construction, did some building, built a few homes of our own. After high school, I actually wanted to become an architect. That was my initial plan. But when I returned home from my mission, I ended up going to BYU and ultimately looked into the construction management program and kind of landed there. So
Nice.
with having a background in residential construction, I kind of took that path with that program.
So Chad, tell us a little bit more about your career path and really I know that you and Candace are very successful builders. Can you tell us more about how that happened for you?
Yeah, so graduating from BYU, as you mentioned, I was recruited by a national builder to come to Colorado. And one of my goals when working with them was always to obtain my own contractor's license. So I did that. And the production building world was good for me. It got me in the door. But ultimately, it was something that I kind of felt like I wanted to do more. It allowed me to learn the industry, establish connections, which are important with other professionals and trade partners, and then kind of fine tune my skills in project management during my time with them. And then Candace and I built our first home together, and then we eventually just had a goal one day that we wanted to get into the custom home industry and have our own company. And through a bunch of different series of events, an opportunity presented itself in 2014 for us to do that, and that's what we've been doing ever since.
Okay. Well, I know that you live in a home, you and Candace and your family live in a home that you built. And how many other homes have you lived in that you built?
I think we're in our sixth one right now. So yeah, our home is our model, so it's kind of, we've every couple of years, we look to kind of upgrade things and have things to show off to different clients. And so it's been a lot of work on our part, but it's been good for us.
That's great. So Chad, I know you have a lot of satisfied clients. I know a number of them. And how do you interact with your clients to build the perfect home for them?
I think if I had to pick one thing, is I just think it's constant communication with clients. Um, you hear a lot of people having horror stories with builders and certain things and saying, I have a hard time getting a hold of my builder. I have a hard time communicating exactly what I need. And so, when a client comes to us to build their home, I mean, we're essentially building their dream. They're putting a lot of trust in us to do a very large investment for them. And so I feel like open, constant communication with them is absolutely essential. And really, looking for and finding the best ways to build that for them.
Hmm. That's great. I also believe in open communication with clients, so that's important.
Yeah.
So, what made you decide to venture out on your own and create your own company versus working for someone else?
It was just a goal early on. Nothing against the production home world. I've got a lot of good friends that are in that, but it was just something I didn't see myself doing long term as a career. I really love that each and every project that we do is unique and has its own set of challenges, and so we learn from every project, and it's just something that's always been a long term goal of ours.
Okay, that's that entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
Love that. So, has your career, Chad, been on a continual upward path, or are there times that you've had to overcome significant obstacles?
We've been pretty blessed. I mean, we've had really good clients that we've been able to work for. Every project has its own set of challenges. So I would say, um, we've always had road bumps along the way, but so far I don't think we've really had any, significant obstacles that we've had to overcome. We just kind
Mhm.
of deal with each challenge individually and figure out good ways to move past.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more about? I know you have a Bachelor of Science in construction management, but what about the requirements to become a general contractor? Can you tell us more about that?
I think each jurisdiction will have their own set of requirements. Here, where I'm at in Colorado, I believe you do have to work for a construction company for 2 years in some sort of managerial role or management role. Um, and then there's also a test that you have to take and pass and study for. And it's a pretty extensive test. It takes about 4 hours. But I
Hmm.
believe that's about it to at least get started. There's a board that you have to go in front of to get approved. Sometimes the board will take a look at your experience, take a look at your test scores. They may offer you a limited license early on, kind of see how your first couple projects go. But that's my experience here. But I think each jurisdiction is different because I've gotten licensed in other jurisdictions since, and just by having my license where I'm at now has made it easier to get licenses in other areas.
Okay. Chad, I know that you do custom home building, but do you also have expertise in commercial projects?
Not yet. That's another goal of mine as well. Right now, we just focus on residential. I've looked at expanding our company into some commercial projects, but we haven't done anything as of yet.
Okay. Um, Chad, in addition to the formal education that you have, are there any other certifications or advanced learning that you believe would be helpful to someone becoming a successful home builder?
I think education is great. My experience at BYU with their construction management program was phenomenal just because no matter what expertise or area or field you wanted to go in, you had classes in all different aspects of construction. But I also think a really important thing is to get out there and actually, do construction work in the field. One of the prerequisites, at least when I was at BYU, to get in the construction management program is you had to have field experience before you could even apply to get in the program. It was a capped program. So I just feel like, really successful general contractors are ones that truly understand all their different trades, understand, I've done framing, I've done concrete work, I've done electrical, I've done roofing, I've done a lot of those different things to where when I'm in the field as in a management position, I can understand, hey, well, this is what's going on, and I can help. It ultimately it's up to us to, evaluate, make sure work's done properly and correct. Unfortunately, with the labor situation, a lot of these companies are trying to find as many guys as they can, and a lot of times some of the guys that get on the job site aren't as fully trained or qualified, at least initially, and so it's my job to kind of help train them as well. So, as much as you can learn about construction, doing different fields, different trades, um, really helps you gain respect also from those other trade partners that you're working with, because you're not telling them to do something that just can't be done, or that you don't have any experience doing.
Mhm. Chad, can you tell us a little bit about the important rewards and challenges, not only of being a business owner, but also a builder?
One of my favorite things about being, especially a custom home builder, is you know that a lot of our projects start with sometimes just scribbled on a napkin. We'll meet with a client early on, and then one day, you're driving down the street and you look over and you're just like, yeah, we helped build that home for that client. And, just taking pride in those projects, doing things that are unique and creative. That's just something that's always really been important to me. So, kind of taking that project from nothing to something, has always been important to us.
Hmm. And what about just challenges that you might run into?
No, every job's going to have its challenges. And I think that's how you grow as a builder, personally. I think just running into those, it shapes you into a better contractor by having those experiences. And when we start every project with clients, we tell them, we're like, hey, things are going to happen along the way. We've never built this home before. Even though it looks good on paper, sometimes that doesn't necessarily translate to how things come together in the field. And so, we talk through, again, going back to that communication thing. When we encounter a challenge, we communicate through that, figure out ways to resolve it, and then, ultimately use that as a growing experience.
So I know that you know a lot of individuals in the business, other builders. What do you consider to be the characteristics of the most successful home builders?
Uh, going back to what I initially said, being a good communicator, being organized is very, very important. Um, you not only gain um, you gain the respect from your clients, but also from your trade partners you're working with by having an organized job site and an organized schedule. Experience, again, is I think super key. Um, you know, a lot of those trade partners that you work with, respect you for the experience you have, and then again, willing to do the work.
Mhm.
I've met with various clients that have had unique projects, and they've said, "Yeah, we met with so and so, but they don't do this, or they're not willing to expand out and look at that." And that's something I think every job we've built's been unique. It's we've never done the same project twice, so just be willing to do the work and do the research and figure those things out for them.
Chad, can you describe what are the trends that are impacting the home building industry now?
I mean, probably the biggest one right now is obviously interest rates. That's been a pretty significant blow to the overall housing industry. We haven't seen it affect the custom homes as much right now, but it could if it continues. Um, Big thing right now is a lot of the federal government pushing new energy codes. That's been really driving up costs. They're important, but at the same time, there's got to be a good middle ground that we're trying to find. So we've seen, along with that, we've seen pretty significant cost increases, not only in labor but also materials. And a lot of this is post-COVID. And again, like I mentioned earlier, too, a shortage in labor force. We're just seeing a real shortage in tradesmen. People wanting to get out and get their hands dirty and do the work and take pride in their work. And so that's been something that's impacted us for a while. We've actually seen a pretty significant labor shortage since 2008. And that's really kind of affected the overall amount of homes that we've been able to produce.
I see. So if you had more labor, you could build more homes. So
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah. So I think it would help for sure.
yeah, we're hearing that that same theme across different industries.
Yeah.
So let's the, an individual that may be interested in going into the construction trade, either as a builder like yourself, or just getting a start in the business. How would you recommend that they do that? And if they were, let's say, before they head off to college, if they want to know more about what it takes to be a builder, or more about the construction management degree, what steps would you recommend for them?
I would say first and foremost, just get out there and work. You'd be surprised how much you can learn by just being on a job site. And that doesn't necessarily mean being in a superintendent type role. A lot of people feel like they can walk onto a job site and, hey, I'm going to be a project manager. Well, it's tough to be a project manager when you have no experience. And so, get on a framing crew, get on an electrical, get on a roofing company, go around, see what's happening, learn those different trades. And then, like I said, just by being on a job site, you'd be surprised how much you can learn and say, hey, yeah, you know what, this isn't for me. Or, hey, I'm really interested in, this part of the industry. In construction, there's so many different career paths you could take. And so just by getting out there and trying different things, and just because you show up one day and you're a framer doesn't mean you're going to be a framer for life. But at
Mhm.
least getting to know how buildings are constructed helps out a lot. And I think me being as a company owner, if someone were to walk in with a resume and they had a lot of field experience being out there, that would work really well in their favor over and above somebody who just said, hey, I've got a degree, but I've never worked in the field.
Sure.
So
So, Chad, I know that you and Candace, you have a beautiful family, and you've got balance in your life. I know that in addition to the work that you do at your church, you also are an avid outdoorsman. You're always out there hunting and fishing. Um, but what advice would you give to someone that they want to be successful? They want to show that they've got the gumph to really get after a career, but yet they want to have balance in their life. How do they do that?
I think ultimately setting goals and also setting limits. I think everybody wants and wishes to be successful, um, but you got to make sure it's not at the expense of more important things in life.
Mhm.
So, finding out ways to do both. At the same time, I work 24/7 sometimes in my business, but I force myself to take time off, to take time to be with my kids, to go on vacation with my family, to kind of be there when I can. The tricky thing too is, my home is my office, and I've got a home office, and so sometimes it's hard to get away from work a little bit, but you just got to set limits on certain things, and set expectations with clients. Hey, I'm not available today, but we can have this discussion tomorrow or whatever it might be.
Sure, sure. I think that's great. So in a lot of discussions that we have with young adults, they want their careers to mean something. They want it to be productive, but they want it to be meaningful. So when they're done with their working life, they want it to have meant something. So what advice can you offer to young adults that want to be productive? They want everything to be meaningful in the career that they choose.
Cool. I mean, there's a lot of different roads you can take to get into construction. So I would say, try lots of them. See what works best for you.
Hmm.
Find out what you're really passionate about. You may not realize that you're passionate about something until you've tried it. You're like, hey, you know what? I really enjoy doing that. Every job, no matter where you're at, will have its challenges. You always hear the phrase, the grass is always greener, right? Well, maybe greener for a little while, but then it's going to have its challenges eventually. So, but if you enjoy what you're doing, I think it helps you deal with those challenges a little bit better when they do come.
That's true. Uh, Chad, you're a business owner, you're a home builder. How important is networking to you? And how do you recommend that people do that, especially as they're entering the field?
You know, time in the field is big. Like I mentioned before, we have a small community within the construction area where we're at. So, you know, as you spend time in the field, you'll get to know people and work for different people and meet different people. Um, you know, so the more time you spend in it, then you'll make those connections. And so, like I mentioned earlier on, you know, my time in working for a production builder, you know, I met a lot of people along the way, a lot of different trades, different projects, different subdivisions that we were working in, you know, and that helped facilitate when I went out. People knew me; they knew who I was. They knew what kind of projects I managed. So when I had my own company, they came to us and, "Hey, we'd love to do work for you."
Mhm.
Just because you know you establish that reputation early on. So, like I said, just getting out there and getting to know people, meet people.
So how do you build your clientele?
So, um, almost all my work or my clientele is word of mouth, and so that's where reputation is really key. We do very little marketing. You know, I'm a smaller builder, so I only take on probably 5 or 6 projects a year anyway. So vast majority is through word of mouth. Um, you know, social media is becoming a big thing too. We're trying to keep a good solid presence there. But I would say, you know, people talk. And, you know, when they're at dinner or they're out hanging out with friends and they're saying, yeah, so and so built with, you know, this person had a great experience, um, then you're more likely to get those phone calls. So
I
reputation is
like
key.
that. So in wrapping up, Chad, is there any other career advice or just life advice that you'd like to offer to young adults that are watching this video?
You know, I think just going back to what we said earlier, you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of people right now that are afraid to, you know, I guess the best word for it is get their hands dirty, kind of get out there, work in the field. But I would hire a person that's done that over someone who just went to school and wants to be a project manager. I think that field experience is important. I think if you talk to other companies and trades, I think they would echo that as well. You know, like I mentioned earlier, the construction management program at BYU required that work experience before they would even allow you to apply for the program. And I think that's good. Kudos to BYU to do that. I think it's important because when you come in with a little bit of experience, one, you want to be there, you know that, and then two, I think that just helps make their program that much more successful. Yeah, I don't know where it is now, but when I was there, I mean, we had almost 100% placement rate at graduation. Companies came in, they knew what they were going to get in a graduate from BYU CM program. And I think
Mhm.
that kind of just comes into a lot of that. Even my time in the program, they required an internship. So aside from my experience just to get on the program, you know, they still required that we went out, we did an internship, did certain things to, increase our experience in the field.
Well, Chad, I want to thank you for your time that you've spent with us and the expert advice that you've given to young adults interested in a career in residential construction. So to wrap up this video, we'd like to remind our viewers that they can either reach out on their own to seasoned professionals to learn about careers. They can to schedule an informational interview where just they can ask for an introduction to that professional from somebody that they know. And we feel that informational interviews are a great way to get to know about a career and what it takes to be successful in that career. To prepare for informational interviews, we recommend that you watch the video on this website titled Conducting Informational Interviews. So again, thank you, Chad. You've been amazing, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me.